Movement in Deadlock is probably one of the biggest skill gaps in the entire game. Now, understanding how to collect souls, get eliminations, build the correct builds, when to move around the map are all important. The biggest thing is movement. The movement starts rather simple, then gets more complex the more time you put into the game, and of course the higher you gain in ranks. And today I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about movement in Deadlock, from the most basic of abilities and basic pretty much everything to more advanced tips and techniques. And if you like this type of content or want to see more, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Of course, like the video and send this video to someone if they need to learn movement. But anyways, let's dive straight in. So just a quick little rundown. This right here is your stamina bar. Different characters spawn with different stamina. Venator, for example, has 3. If I swap to a character like Celeste, we have 4. If I swap to a character like, for instance, Great Talon, he also has 4. So different characters have different types of stamina. So the big thing, what do? So of course, first, shift on default mouse and keyboard is your dash. And you can see when we're dashing, it actually lights up blue for a second. This is indicating you can do a dash jump or a jump dash, whatever you want to classify it as, and then doing a jump after. This allows you to propel yourself a little bit further. It does require you to have about 1.5 bars of stamina to do, because it uses about that, which is very good for getting around corners, trying to dash away from enemies, just trying to catch up to wave, whatever the case may be, trying to get the jump on somebody. That's pretty much it. You can also slide down surfaces and have infinite ammo. This doesn't require any stamina and is a very good thing to do. Using this allows you to do a lot of damage to guardians or walkers. For instance, we're fighting here, there's the tower, I might be shooting this, and then I go back to get a little bit of infinite ammo. They changed it since the 4 lanes, at the 3 lanes, you can't really do this now anymore, but you can still poke enemies under tower with infinite ammo if you're doing the slide back tech and you're not really shooting the tower. But that's really only about the early stages of the laning phase. Past that, not really going to be using that specific mechanic anymore, but sliding for infinite ammo is always a good option. You can also dash left, dash right, dash backwards, dash forwards, depending on which way you're going, which is a great thing to know. Another big thing to know is that you can jump up once, jump off a wall, and it doesn't use stamina. So wall jumps don't use any stamina. You can use it to add extra flare or add extra double jumps into your your dash, trying to get around the map quicker. So I dash up, I dash, then I double jump. You can see I get closer to the skybox. So again, I'm just dashing off the wall, then I'm dashing again, uses 1 stamina, but it essentially is acting as a double jump. Now, if you jump onto the wall, you can wall jump, and if you hold, whatever key, so if I hold D, you can see that my wall jump doesn't really go that far. But if I wall jump and I hold A, for instance, I go a lot further to the side. So it depends on which wall you're doing this with, what angle you're trying to take. If you want to go further or closer to the wall, try to juke out your opponents. This is all a very good idea. Now, another big thing is when you're on the zipline and you're coming to lane, it's in your best interest to hold control. You don't want to hold space off of it, or you don't want to tap space, because you're actually going to kill the momentum of your character. So instead, you typically will do control, because it carries the momentum of the zipline and you go a lot further, and you go into a slide, so you go a lot further. You never want to jump, like I said, you never want to jump, because you can continue the momentum. So you control, and you're sliding, you can add a jump and then go back into another slide, which is kind of like a short hop, but not really. So you go control, into a slide, into a jump, back into a slide. So it's a really good idea to do this off the laning phase. And basically, you're shooting in lane, you go back to your zipline, you come off, you buy at the buy station, then you can hop back onto the zipline, then you slide back down the stairs. This allows you to rotate between your shop and the lane a lot faster, and it's typically used pretty much all the time. Now, pretty much one of the biggest pieces of advice, if you can't learn any advanced movement tech, if you can't get the mechanics down, if you can't do this or that, there is just one mechanic that I want you to know, and that is the mantle slide. This is when you jump onto an object when you're trying to mantle, and you do this animation, start mantling said object. I want you to hold your crouch button or your slide button. For instance, on default, it's control. So you just jump up and you hold crouch. That's for any obstacle that allows you to mantle. So you can do it off this, can do it off this, go up, and you slide. This gives you more momentum, and you go directly into a slide, and this gives you a little bit further distance. It gives you a split second of infinite ammo, and you can use this to chain into different types of movement combos. If you can get the mantle slide down, that's truly all that really matters in this game. Yes, there is a ton of more advanced mechanics of short hopping, doing stuff with the zipline, but as long as you can do the mantle slide, that's really all that matters, because it just opens the avenue for so many different things. It allows you to move around the map a lot quicker, get out of sticky situations pretty often, allows you to reset a lot more frequently, and it's overall just a really good idea to do. Like I said, all you have to do is hold your crouch button when you mantle. It's not like as you're mantling, because it would just drop you back down, but you start the animation, you hold control, and it's just like that. Again, anything that you can mantle, you can do the mantle slide off of. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be, like I said, the thinnest piece of a poster or wall, and you can do it, and you can go back into a slide. While doing this, you can add in another jump and then go back into another slide, which is pretty nice. You can see. Or you can add in more stuff to it. Like so, then I can go back into another mantle slide and then reset. It's all very good. Now, probably one of the most underutilized tools of a learning movement in this game is actually just going to explore NYC out of the hideout. And basically, it just gives you a free test of everything. You just no clip away, or you can take the zipline, whatever you want. But this essentially just allows you to test different types of movement. For instance, at 5 minutes, the bridge buffs spawn. And if you're on a side lane, knowing how to move around to the air vents is pretty crucial. So for instance, I'm not fantastic at movement at this game, but I think it's a good idea just to teach everybody what I know. You can double jump, or you can wall jump off this and just go immediately up, and then you can add a melee and then jump up and then slide in and then go. Again, I'm not amazing at movement, but I think it's a good idea to try to teach people some things. Another thing, you can, when you're on this side and you shove the wave in for the bridge buff, you can wall bounce off of that and then jump up and do the same thing. Again, you don't necessarily have to have the secondary jump. As long as you just jump up or you bounce off the wall, you can add a melee in. Melee essentially cancels your momentum but keeps you at the same level of where you're going from. As you can see, kind of carries the momentum, but it does cancel all momentum, if that makes sense. So you go up and then you just hold space and go. Like I said, the melee aspect does help you in certain ways. If you're trying to get to a certain height and you run out of stamina, you can use the heavy melee to try to give you a little bit of time to mantle up. I'm not the best at timing it, so by no means am I the best person to teach you, unfortunately. I'm just teaching you, again, what I generally know. Another thing is, a lot of players just hop up on that. What you can do instead is just do this, and then mantle slide. This is why you learn a mantle slide. Instead of having to just climb up each little box like so, it's probably in your best interest to just hit the wall and then go from there. Like so. Again, this mantle sliding around is the big thing. And like I was explaining before, when you're coming to lane, what you want to do is come up and then hold crouch down. And the same thing is, if you're leaving lane, like so, to go by, you can come from this angle, you can hop up here and then come down, like so, slide in. And then you want to do the same thing. You come up, go up, and then you just control down. It's easier to show on the side lanes specifically because of how it's angled. Typically, the zipline thing isn't the best in mid lane. It could still be done, but it's not the best. So you're coming into spawn, come down, it's time to buy, you hit the zip, then you instant control down, you buy whatever the case may be, then you zipline up, and then you just control back down. Honestly, sitting here in Explore NYC for a little while, understanding the movement, learning everything about it is probably the best tools in the entire toolkit of understanding movement in this game. It just helps in so many different aspects than you might think. I sat here for a little while, maybe 30 odd minutes of just understanding the basic. Yapping is annoying, but like I said, if you can take anything away from this video, the only thing I say is just the mantle slide. As long as you know how to do this, you're pretty much already ahead of the curve in my eyes. A lot of people, even in Ascendant and up, don't really know about this still for some reason. So as long as you know how to mantle slide, that's truly all that really matters. Knowing to double jump and adding extra stuff just goes on with putting time into the game. But there is like a lot more advanced stuff, but I'm not the best person at explaining it, unfortunately. But that's essentially a beginner's guide to all of the movement that I personally know in Deadlock. So if you like this content or want to see more, let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully this helped you out in any way, shape, or form. If it did, make sure to sub. But anyways, I hope you have a great and safe day, and I'll catch you in the next one.